What's up, my bearded bros? Brady Maine-iac here with Week 12 NFL game picks for the 2017-2018 NFL season. We went 10-3 last week, as you can see right here. Most disappointing loss of all the teams definitely has to be the Chiefs at the Giants. As although some of the other teams I did pick lost, like for example Seattle at Atlanta. I mean, with injuries, I didn't know about the Cam Chancellor thing, but congratulations to the Falcons. Anyway, this week we have an interesting set of picks today. We have Thanksgiving week, and we're going to start with Minnesota Vikings at the Detroit Lions. Early Thanksgiving game here. Lions are playing at home, but I'm going to pick the Vikings to win. They're favored by 3. I believe they cover as well. Their defense, I believe, can stifle Matthew Stafford, especially on a short week. Defense tends to be the upper hand in games more so. If the Lions do win, though, it's going to be based on second half adjustments. I do think they start slow. It will be definitely interesting to see. Next game, we have the Chargers at the Cowboys. Chargers are favored by 1 point. I'm picking them to win. I'm a little afraid of if Tyron Smith will play or not. And with that, you have Ingram and Bosa rushing Dak. He's going to have a tough game all day. I like the Chargers defense. I think the Chargers offense against a Sean Lee-less Cowboys defense should do just enough to win this one. And then the last game, the Thursday night Thanksgiving game, when you're full of so much turkey that you're probably going to pass out and not watch it, you got the Giants versus the Redskins. Now, before last week, this game looked like it would be an anemic car wreck because you had the Redskins with possibly the most injuries in NFL history. I don't fact check that, so let me know if that's true. Against the Giants, who somehow limited the Chiefs to field goals and won with a Travis Kelce interception thrown into that. I don't know how that happened. This one's interesting for sure. I'm picking the Redskins here. They're favored by 7.5, but with injuries, this could be a lot closer. Thompson, hope he recovers quickly. He's not going to be back at the end of the year, but hopefully he comes back and plays well next year. He was doing so good for the Redskins, but broke or fractured his fibula. The spread here is 7.5, but it could be a lot closer. I think the Redskins win. I'm going to take them to cover, but it could be a close game. Next game, we have the Bucs at the Falcons. Falcons are favored by 9.5 here. I believe they win and cover. Fitzpatrick against the young Atlanta defense is not going to be good and then you have Matt Ryan against the Bucs defense, who's almost as injured as the Redskins. It's just a recipe for disaster. Then you have the Browns, Bengals. Bengals are favored by 8.5. This could be a close game. Look for this one to honestly be a chance for the Browns to get their first victory of the season. I say that because with the porous offensive line of the Bengals, Myles Garrett could have a field day. Granted, the Browns are without Jamie Collins for the rest of the year, but there could be upset here if the Browns offense can somewhat get it together. But I do believe the Bengals win and cover the 8.5 point spread, but it should definitely be an interesting game. Definitely a potential trap game. Then you have the Titans at the Colts. I'm picking the Titans to win. They're favored by 3 points. Colts could pull off the upset, but I don't think they have the weapons like the Steelers did. I believe Marcus Mariota bounces back. Probably 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. In my opinion, they're favored by 3. I believe they cover. Next game is Bills-Chiefs. Chiefs coming off that disappointing loss to the Giants. Alex Smith, 2 interceptions. Travis Kelce, 1 interception. But the Bills are coming off a game against the Chargers where their starting quarterback, Nathan Peterman, threw 5 interceptions and would have had a better passer rating if they counted his throws to the Chargers instead of throws to the Bills, which is sad. I'm picking the Chiefs here. Out of the anemicness and the lopsidedness of these teams, I believe the Chiefs have a better offense and defense overall, and I believe they can frustrate Tyrod Taylor and limit LaShawn McCoy's damage. It should be a good one. Chiefs are favored by 10. I believe they cover. Next, we have the Dolphins at Patriots. The Patriots are favored by 16 points here. I do not know if Jay Cutler is going to be cleared from concussion protocol in time for this game. Jarvis Landry and Devontae Parker and Kenny Stills are all threats to receive in the game. So I think the Patriots win it, but I don't think they cover. Their defense is good, but Matt Moore or Jay Cutler can get some lucky throws off and get some maybe a couple touchdowns there. A lot of teams also at the end of the game will throw a lot, so maybe a garbage touchdown closes this game in a little bit. I still think the Patriots win though, but I do not think they cover the spread. It's just too big of a spread for me to feel safe covering. Then you have the Panthers at the Jets. Panthers are favored by 4.5 over the New York Jets. The Jets could pull off the upset here, but they need their run defense to contain Cam Newton. That's the only way they win. If Cam Newton gets over 40 yards rushing in this game, it's a clear Panthers victory to me. Their defense is just too solid. I don't think the Jets are going to score that much. Panthers are favored by 4.5. I believe they cover. Then we have the Bears, Eagles. Eagles are favored by 13.5. I believe they win. I believe they cover. The Bears' offense is just completely terrible. Only way the Bears win this year is if they get a couple of, or get some points off of turnovers and force Carson Wentz into some bad decisions. And as we've seen so far this year, that is not easy at all. Then you have the Saints at the Rams. This is an interesting game. I struggled picking this one. The Rams are favored by 2.5. I'm picking the Saints in the upset. I was thinking about this, and my thought process was Drew Brees has Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. The Rams do struggle against run defense a little bit. Not necessarily as much as they used to. But you have the Saints defense missing Okafor, which worried me a little bit. But I don't know. I just didn't feel safe picking the Rams after their clunker last week, and the Saints are on fire, so I'm picking the Saints. The next we have the Seahawks 49ers, also known as the Alley Cat pick of the week. I gave her a choice this week between the Saints, Rams, Seahawks, Niners. She wanted to pick the Seahawks over the 49ers. My counter to this would be, I like what Beathard's doing. I believe Jimmy Garoppolo is going to start this week. Granted, if he had Pierre Garçon, it should be a little easier. I honestly, if I was going to beat the Seahawks, I would look for some formations with Hyde and Breda together on the field. That would be kind of clutch. I like what the young tight ends of the San Francisco 49ers are doing, but I still think the Seahawks, even without Chancellor, even without Sherman, their defense can contain the 49ers just enough to win. Next, we have the Jags Cardinals. The Jags are favored by 4.5. I'm going to take them over the inept Cardinals. Cardinals can't do shit against defense like the Jags. If the Cardinals are going to win, they need to force Blake Bortles into his classic mistakes and probably get 2 or 3 defensive touchdowns, and they definitely have a good chance of winning. Next, with the Broncos at Raiders, we have ineptitude against ineptitude. Broncos are floundering faster than a fish out of water, and the Raiders are choking worse than a guy trying to swallow a whole 48-ounce steak. The Raiders did recently fire their defensive coordinator. They're favored by 5, but I'm taking the Broncos in the upset here. I'm not saying Paxton Lynch is their savior, but the Raiders' defense is so bad he should be able to expose them with Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders, especially if they try to implement a new system on that defense. It does worry me. And the no-fly zone should be able to contain Derek Carr, because a lot of teams have been able to contain him this year, so I look for the Broncos to maybe bounce back a little bit and keep their playoff hopes alive just for another week. Then the last 2 games, Packers, Steelers, Texans, Ravens. The AFC North is starting to look very promising here. I'm picking both AFC North teams. The Packers got shut out by the Ravens last week. This is why I mentioned both games together. Packers got shut out by the Ravens 23-0. The Steelers stomped the Titans. Their defense has turned around. I believe if the Steelers defense played that well against Mariota, they should be able to play that well against Hundley. The Packers running backs are just ravaged with injuries. I think the Steelers defense has enough to contain Jordy Nelson and Cobb. It should definitely be interesting, especially I don't think the Packers defense, especially if Clay Matthews can't play, can contain all the weapons the Steelers have. This could be a Le'Veon Bell kind of game, or it could be an Antonio Brown kind of game, or a combo. You just never know which week what they're going to do more of. Sometimes they run a lot more, sometimes they throw a lot more, as evidence of the 3 touchdowns by Antonio Brown against the Titans. And this is kind of connected to the Ravens because they got a matchup coming up soon. Ravens defense is looking stout like it did at the beginning of the year. They did kind of fumble around a little bit, but what I look for in this game is Danny Woodhead to get the ball more. Oh, I apologize. Steelers are favored by 14 points. I believe they win and cover the 14-point spread. Now back to the Ravens. They're favored by 7. I believe they win, cover the spread. Their defense is stout. They're going to force Tom Savage into mistakes because even the Raiders could force Tom Savage into mistakes. He's that bad this year. The Texans placed, I believe, Devontae Foreman on IR. They did pick up Andre Ellington from the Cardinals, so it should be interesting to see if he does play this week. Danny Woodhead's bouncing back. He was active last week. He did a little bit. I believe he's going to do more this week. It's going to open up the Ravens passing game with Maclin and Wallace. So look for the Ravens to be a little bit more offensive this week, especially against a defense that's still lacking Merciless and Watt. The Ravens might be able to expose their offense just enough. But even if their offense is inept, their defense is going to crush the Texans. It's not even close. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, and I'll see you next week. Peace.